friends at Tivoli Brewing Company and the Department of Communication Arts and Sciences at MSU Denver, this is Unfiltered. And here are your hosts, Jay Schrader and Dr. Samuel J.
This is not going to be the last interview that we do like this. As long as we have it here, we should be okay. So let's try it. Chad, first off, can you introduce yourself and we'll go from there?
Absolutely. So my name is Chad Bratt. I am the general manager of Jagged Craft Brewery down here in Denver, Colorado. We've been open now for almost 7 years, coming up on 7 years in November. And we have a little tap room, brew in the back and serve out front. Pretty simple concept.
So how long have you been there?
I've been here since day one. So I helped out kind of get the place put together. And then as soon as we started, as soon as we were open to customers, I was bartending and then moved into the GM position right after that.
So I did a little bit of research. Usually I don't for this, but I know that Jagged Mountain has kind of a complex history. Knowing that you were there from kind of day one, can you summarize that history for us and kind of what's happened in the recent years and where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first opened, we had our model was very much a big, high ABV, high gravity, expressive beers. And it's really cool to brew that stuff. It's cool to drink it. We love those kind of beers, but it doesn't sell very well for us. And unfortunately, people were coming in and having one and leaving. And with the taproom model, that doesn't work. You want them to have 3 or 4. And so beers that were sitting in that 16% range weren't moving. And if that's the only thing you have on your menu, it's going to be pretty tough to keep things going. So we started off in the early days with a phenomenal head brewer that has now gone off to start his own high gravity brewery, Wayne Burns. You guys might have heard of him. He's definitely a bit of a legend in the Michigan craft beer scene, brewed for Bell's and Kunin's for a long time, but a phenomenal human being, brews really, really cool beers, but really big beers. So we parted ways with him about a year and a half in to kind of change the model and diversify our beer lineup a little bit, make some more accessible beers to our consumers that were coming in. We're in the downtown market, so we have a lot of tourists. We have a lot of baseball crowd. We're 3 blocks away from Coors Field where the Rockies play. So we had a lot of opportunity to brew some beers that were a little smaller, a little more accessible, a little more friendly to our customers, and we went that route.
So I guess so he left pretty early on. So therefore, kind of what you've done in recent years is obviously way more attuned to the crowd, as you had mentioned.
Yes.
Are things pretty good now with Wayne? Okay, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we stay pretty close in this industry. All of Colorado breweries do, really, but we support them when we can, and vice versa. So, especially right now when we're in these dire times, we're definitely supporting each other.
Hey, do me a favor, Jay and Brian. If you want to ask a question, raise your hand because I've got Jay muted because it's fucking echoing. Yeah, so you can't say it. Just raise your hand and then I'll unmute you, okay?
I muted myself.
There you go. Jay, my co-host of Norm, ask a question.
Did you call me Norm?
No, my normal co-host.
In Norm. Oh, I gotcha. See, the chemistry's way off on this.
It doesn't make – I know. You're going to have to get used to it.
Yeah, I guess. Chad, how are you guys dealing with this? I mean, are you guys able – besides the collaboration part, I've spent all day dealing with clients of mine that are freaking out, but are you guys able to continue your brewing day-to-day in the space? Are you guys able to keep your distribution up if there's distribution? You got people walking up and you're selling them 40s right there on the street?
Yeah. So yes and no to some of that. Our production has gone down to essentially 0 right now. We don't have any. We have beer in the tanks that is in various stages, but and most of those beers will be coming out of the tanks within the next 2 weeks, just because that's the timing of it. But those beers are after that. That's pretty much it. We're going to hold off until we get the word, or until we get a little closer to needing to brew. So we've taken drastic measures. So obviously we're not brewing right now, no production in the back. Our tap room is closed to the public for inside seating. or any service indoors. So we are only doing to-go beer right now. So we're selling our crowlers, which they're obviously 32-ounce crowlers, which is our only option right now, really. We're not really filling growlers just to keep the contamination down if there is any. But we want to obviously make sure that this is safe for everybody and people are able to enjoy our beer safely. So we're filling crowlers. You can order online on our website. You can call us. You can email us. Any way to get a hold of us, we'll place an order and we'll get crowlers filled up. And then we'll do a curbside pickup. If they want to come in, if they don't even want to get out of the car, we'll do that. We could take a credit card over the phone, all that kind of stuff. So we're just trying to really wade through it all and make it as easy as possible to get our beer out there. Because right now, that's our only source of income is crowlers and merchandise, gift cards, anything that doesn't require you to come in and hang out and have a pint of our beer.
So, okay, first off, what is the website that we can go to order this stuff?
So if you just go to our main website, jaggedmountainbrewery.com, there'll be the first thing you're going to see is an option to order beer. We've pretty much dialed our website into our current temporary business plan, which is to-go beer only. So you'll see a tab right there. You click on that guy, it takes you right to the order form. And all you have to do is put in what beers you want off our current list. We keep the menu up to date on the website. So you place an order for what beers you want, how many of each, the date, the time you want to pick it up, and then they'll be ready then.
Makes total sense. I guess let's jump back. We'll talk more about coronavirus. Obviously, that can be the center of the conversation because you will be the first interview that we have done after Polis and Hancock have shut things down. But okay, so Jagged Mountain.
It's probably too soon, but someone's going to name a beer after it,
right? Yeah. I saw a social distance IPA.
Social, yes, that's good.
Yeah. I think Vale.
The Curve Ale.
It's happening,
yeah.
Oh my God. It's
you got to trademark that shit.
No kidding. No shit. Okay. So Jagged Mountain, things get started. Okay. So you got into the history a little bit. 2013. Why that location? Well, I mean, where y'all are, was it pretty well developed in 2013, or was it still kind of industrial, still kind of that rundown part of town?
It was still pretty rundown, but it was on its way. So there was 2 large apartment complexes in construction when we moved in. So that was already like, you could see, okay, these are going to be give or take X amount of people that are going to be moving in. So, and regulars and customers and all that kind of stuff, which is great. So, but it was still pretty rough. The neighborhood around us hadn't really developed yet. And it's still honestly working through a lot of changes and development currently, but it was, I think we got in at right about the right time. We got pretty lucky. It could have been, we could have been a year or 2 earlier and really would have struggled through the first couple of years. But luckily, being in the location we had a lot of traffic, a lot of foot traffic. And every day our foot traffic is increasing, which is great.
Were you looking at other locations before opening that spot? I mean, and also
we were looking all over.
Okay.
So we were, this was the building that we're in was built in the early 1900s. It held the carriages for the horse-drawn carriages that take people around, kind of tour people around downtown Denver. Was also a frame shop, like a picture framing shop up front. So it's 2 different businesses. We took the wall down and created one big one, essentially.
And you guys have a great space over there too, Chad. I mean, you're looking at, you got the roll-up garage doors that face on the 20th, right? I mean,
we sure do.
Tap room that faces 20th and whatever that north.
Lawrence, or that is across the street.
Lawrence, yeah. What's above you guys? I think you're the first people we've spoken to that have. Isn't it residential above you?
No, so actually, right above us is a Dagger, which is downtown axe gallery art room. I think is what it comes down to, but it's an axe throwing space, and they have a bar upstairs. So they're great neighbors to have. They bring a lot of people in.
Yeah, no shit.
Great.
Do they have your stuff?
You guys
on
tap
tap
have
up there?
a tap line
They
that
do.
runs straight up?
No, we just take our kegs up there, but that would be awesome.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, you should just run one extra long tap line straight upstairs.
We should. It's
So when
permanent Jagged.
When you thought about that location, I guess, and also in terms of what you've seen over the last 7 years, were you expecting to kind of be a baseball seasonal brewery, or did you recognize that a lot of people were going to be moving down that way? I know you had mentioned the kind of apartment buildings and everything, but you're kind of a mainstay in that part of town now, and people talk about Jagged Mountain a lot. What kind of numbers have you seen over the course of 7 years in terms of development and increased kind of sales?
Well, definitely, the sales have increased since day one. The more the more people hear about us, the more we get our beer out there, and go to festivals and get out in front of people. The better, the more that people know about us. There's a lot of people that work downtown, but they don't necessarily live downtown. So we're trying to kind of capture the people who are waiting for I-25 traffic to die down before they drive down south. They're going to have a beer or two, or maybe get a beer to go. So we have a lot of that traffic that we rely on that comes from the people who live around the area or work around the area. But honestly, we probably have, I would say on any given day, we're 40 to 50% tourists inside of our building. So we have a lot of people who are just here exploring Denver, which wasn't really anything we were 100% counting on when we opened our brewery up. We knew that there was going to be a lot of tourism in the area just because there was so much growth and development and rezoning projects that really encourage people to come hang out. So that really opened a lot up for us that we weren't really expecting. And the tourism has been huge because Denver is relatively easy to travel to, relatively cheap to travel to, easy to get around the city, and a lot of stuff to go on. So, there's people coming and hanging out for extended long weekends, and a lot of them are doing beer tours, which is great for our industry because, they'll stop at our place first, and then we can send them off to the next people down the line, Woods Boss, LMF, Ratio, wherever they want to go, whatever beer they want to drink, we can direct them in the right spot. So,
yeah. And you guys are almost like the gateway to Lodo Rhino breweries. I mean, you guys, I feel like you're the first stop on the train.
We really are. It's us and Wynkoop is right next to Union Station. So the minute you get off the train from anywhere, you're right there, and you get to walk across the street, have a beer, have a meal, and then they send you over to our spot. And then we have Great Divide just down the street, which helps a lot too, because a lot of people are familiar with the Great Divide name, and if we bring that up, they usually know where it's at, which helps us out a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey Chad, I'm an expat. I'm born and raised in Denver, but I've been in Michigan for the last 5 years now. So, and I've been to Jagged Mountain. I was there before I left. So, I would say 5-6 years ago. It must have been right.
In a fucking blizzard.
In a blizzard,
Brian.
yeah.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
it's true.
Blizzard.
I joked with these dudes before that the only swag we bought when we were there, I bought my wife a shirt, but I don't think I should put it on. Might not look. It's also not green.
She's not that.
What's changed? And it's funny that you mentioned the Wynkoop too. I worked at the Oxford, which is just around the corner from Wynkoop, which it's not McCormick and Schwicks now anymore. I saw last time I was there. It's something else.
No, I don't know who else is in there, but Oxford is still obviously there.
It was my college job. No, but I was just curious. Like, what's the landscape of that part of downtown and kind of the craft beer scene for a dude who's been away for 5 or 6 years? I joke with these guys all the time that I was there for what I thought was kind of the beginning of it when I was still in Denver and was going to Wits End and Hogshead and these places when there weren't as many breweries as there are.
That's
now.
a fucking brag.
It's got to look different.
You're bragging.
Yeah.
You're bragging. He wants to bring this shit up every time we talk. Yeah, he's like, I was going to Hogshead before it was cool.
Hey, well, now
we had another guest host.
No beer whatsoever.
No, we had another guest host
who
pulled this shit.
Yeah, shit. It happens.
That's a great question, though. I mean, it's really changed a lot. It's growing, I think, way more than any of us ever expected it to. Before I worked here at Jagged, I ran beer festival companies for about 4 or 5 years, ran a few on my own, and then partnered with another guy to run a pretty large one that we toured around the country with. And when we were doing those, we would pull just about everybody we possibly could from Denver to have like a good Denver crowd. And it would be a pretty unimpressive section, like great beer, but not that many people. San Diego always had its beat. California in general always had its beat. Portland always had its beat. And in the past couple, like I would say 5 years, the boom is just insane about how many breweries have opened. And like, not really to my amazement, but it's great to see that they're all surviving. Obviously, this thing we're going through right now is going to change the structure a little bit, the layout of a lot of these breweries. But there's a lot of breweries in Colorado. There's a lot of people, but a lot of people obviously are drinking craft beer because these people are sticking around. And luckily, we have a lot of really good brewers out there. I think that we have some of the best people making some of the best beer I've ever had here in Colorado.
I think the reputation's a little bit on delay too. That San Diego, Portland, a lot of these places still have carry this cachet. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Grand Rapids is constantly listed as this beer capital, and I'm out here, man. It's all right. I mean, Founders. I love Bell's. I love Shorts out in Bel Air. Like, there's some okay breweries out in Michigan, but it's not close. It's not like you can stumble down the block and trip over 7 breweries. It's not close to that.
Yeah. And we have that here, which is pretty great. You can spend a day and just in Rhino alone drinking pretty easily. So it's pretty incredible having. Yeah. We all have, I think.
I was going to say, never experienced that.
No, weird. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jay, you can ask your question. You put the hand. There's a hand.
I raised my hand.
Wait, we need to know this for future interviews. How do you have the hand icon?
Okay, so tap the thing, and then up in the top right corner, you've got more.
Okay.
And then you can raise and I'm going to lower my hand.
Oh my God!
You guys are a bunch of tech idiots.
Keep putting your finger like this when you touch your screen.
I don't even know where the camera is on this thing. There it is.
You have no idea where it is.
Now that we've established that I am still the smartest one in the group, except for Chad, that is.
Yeah.
Chad, we kind of, as usual, got derailed early on. You guys started High Gravity. You started Big Beer. You realized early on that wasn't going to pay the bills from the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, you're drinking something right now. What are you guys focusing on currently? I mean, regardless of COVID-19. What do you guys? What's the niche at Jagged Mountain these days?
Another good beer name.
Yeah.
COVID-17.
COVID-19.
Or at least the hop strain.
Yeah. That's so our menu's always been very diverse, and especially right now it really is. We typically have about 4 to 5 flagship beers that we always keep the same. What I'm drinking right now is our Swatch American IPA. So I believe it's Citra, Amarillo, Mosaic in there. Maybe some Idaho 7. Yeah, I think Idaho 7 in this batch. A pretty classic IPA, West Coast style, but still has a nice citrus backbone to it. It's not piney, like you're chewing on pine needles. It's very nice. So that's our mainstay. It's usually number 1 or number 2 seller for us at all times. We do some very traditional stuff like that. We do a Pilsner, Vienna Lager. Let's see what else we got on tap right now. We have a Grisette. We have a blackberry saison that we brew all year round. We like to dabble in the fruit stuff. We like to do a lot of sour projects. We always have 1 to 2 sours on at all times, kettle sours, and then we generally have something available in bottles, so bottle conditioned sours. Something's been barrel aged. But we're always trying to explore seasonal ingredients, what's available during what time of the year, what people want to drink, what we want to drink is generally a good gauge for everything. But yeah, and a lot of times we're throwing interesting collaborations up on the board. Like right now we have a collab with our friends at First Draft, which is a pour your own beer bar. And we did a Banana Foster's Dunkel. So we basically brewed a Banana Foster's S Dunkel with some vanilla beans in it. Really fun. So we're all over the board. We still do the big stuff. We still have 3-4 beers right now, well over 10%, between 10 and 15% that are on our menu. But the bread and butter are really, like during baseball season, it's our traditional pills and our Kolsch sell like crazy. But our IPAs are always top. And yeah, just anything fun and we want to bring out, we're excited about, is generally our favorite beer on the menu at that point.
You mentioned shutting down in light of the obvious, situation that's affecting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Do you project that will affect kind of anticipating and brewing seasonal stuff, right? I mean, you got to have 4, 5, 6 weeks, I assume, to get out of Kolsch for the summer, or to get out of Marzen for the fall. Or did you have something for St. Patrick's Day that you have and can't get rid of, or didn't make?
Luckily,
if you've got some kegs laying around, let me know.
That was a very self-interested question. Yeah,
sure. I've got we did a small batch. Luckily, we have a little pilot system, a 1-barrel pilot system. So we did a dry Irish stout to put on our nitro line for that. We kind of kept it mellow, but we were in the middle of ramping up for Colorado Rockies opening day. So MLB is a huge season for us, and it's going to happen. It's just a little bit of a late start right now, but we. April 3rd this year was slated to be our home opener, which is besides a Great American Beer Festival, it'll be one of our biggest days in the tap room. That'll now just be sometime in May, we assume. But we are ramping up for that, stocking our menu up. But luckily, a lot of those beers, they are safe enough to sit and condition for a little while. The only beers that we're really concerned about right now are beers with hops in them, and maybe some of our fruited stuff as well, depending on how it hangs on. But we've been doing our due diligence and pulling things if we feel like it needs to be held aside. And we've been, communicating a lot with our restaurant accounts and our bar accounts about how to handle their current beer that might be on tap, whether it's ours or any other craft beer out there, because we really care about all of our friends in this industry. We want to make sure that their beer is being represented well too when things come back online, and that's huge.
What's the plan for that then? What are you all talking about in terms of those who have your stuff on tap?
So the big thing is how to handle it now. So we're telling people to pull beer off tap, disconnect the coupler, pull the coupler off so that it exposes the well to the keg, and then cleaning that out, whether it's like a Star San or a bar sanitizer, glassware rinser, water, doesn't matter. Just trying to get the beer and organic material out of there so that it doesn't like mold or anything like that. So that when they're ready to go tap it, it's ready to be tapped. We also told them to keep us notified, and it's honestly our due diligence at this point. They're going to be so busy, but to keep an eye on when these places open back up and to jump in and help clean tap lines, taste the beer, make sure it's okay. If the beer doesn't taste right, we'll get them something to replace it, because we want to make sure that they're taken care of too, because they give us a lot of support and money over the years. So we want to make sure those guys are all good.
Has this shown a light on maybe some, I don't want to use the word gaps, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to use it. Gaps in maybe your business plan in terms of, hey, maybe we should have been focusing more on liquor store, grocery store distribution versus restaurant accounts and over the bar tap sales. Have you guys talked about that yet, or is it too early? Or am I the asshole that brought it up and you guys were ignoring it?
No, you're the asshole.
No, we haven't. We haven't really talked much about it yet. And the big reason is because we're only doing crowlers. So the form of our can, I think that it just, I don't know if it would. First of all, I don't know if the grocery stores would purchase crowlers for one, and I don't really know how well it'd go over. But we have a really great outlet in Craft Alley. I'm sure listeners have heard of Craft Alley, but they do a beer delivery.
We're doing an interview there this spring. So
nice. They are really great people, and in this time, like they are jumping up and really helping out all the craft breweries. They reached out to everybody who they carry personally, called us and asked us how we were doing, and made sure that there was, if there was any opportunity for them to sell more of our beer, that they would make that happen. So that's a great outlet, because right now, obviously our model is to go beer, and so is their model. So if we can keep giving them a big supply of beer every week to get out to customers, that'll be huge. But that's kind of our outlet that's not our own tap room right now. And it's we wish obviously I think everybody wished they could have saw this coming a little sooner than like 4 or 5 days, but it is what it is. So we're pushing as hard as we can. I think these first, week, maybe week and a half is going to be pretty slow for our to-go stuff because people did stock up really well beforehand. So right now we're just kind of waiting for everybody to hurry up and drink their beer so they can come back and buy more.
When was the first conversation had? Like, at what point did y'all, especially you as GM, see it as something more than just this is happening abroad? It's not happening here. It's happening in Seattle or something.
Sure. We started talking probably close to 2 weeks ago about it when it really started kind of rearing its head. It was more or less on the radar. We weren't really making any plans. We didn't honestly think it was going to affect us this much, but obviously it has. So about a week ago, we saw that, places were starting to regulate, and there was some talk about that happening in California and Washington. And so we just went ahead and figured it was coming. We started planning a little bit, being proactive about pausing some of our subscriptions, cleaning services, this and that, things that are like little things that are easy to shut off right now and bring back online later. And then as soon as then started looking at our stock, like, are we okay on the essentials to get our tap room through if we do stay open? Do we have enough crowler cans? Do we have enough labels? Do we have enough all this stuff to actually make this plan work? And luckily we were pretty well set up because sometimes that doesn't work that way. So we just try to do our due diligence and be really careful about setting everything up and making sure that we are making good decisions the first time and not making a mistake that we are going to have to figure out halfway through this ordeal or whatnot.
Have you had any
Are you guys?
Sorry. Have you had any word from the government or whoever about relaxing rules or regulations or things that might make it easier for you to do business? It seems like a lot of places in Michigan are more bars than breweries are suddenly allowed to do alcohol takeout. I'm not sure if they're selling pints of beer, if they're selling bottles of beer, but that seems like that would be, potentially useful. If you said you're limited to growlers, if you could, obviously growlers you already mentioned in terms of the risk of contamination may not be a good way to go. But if there's another vehicle to do it, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. There hasn't been any word yet, but I have a feeling there will be. I don't think that we're going to be left high and dry on this situation. There's a lot of people. We have a lot of service industry people in this city, in this state for sure. So I think that I don't think we're going to be left high and dry, but I don't know when they're going to come up with a solution. We would love a little bit of leniency. We would love to be able to deliver. That's a big thing right now. As a manufacturing brewery, we want to be able to deliver. The ones that are big time affected by this too are the brew pubs, because currently there's a bill they're trying to rush through and get it approved right now and get it voted on. But there's a bill too, because we're currently oh my gosh, brew pubs cannot sell anything that is not made there. So say BJ's Brew Pub has 5 locations. If they make beer at location A, it can only be sold at location A. So if they have beer from all the other locations,
it's like a tasting room exception or whatever, right?
It is. Yeah. So they're trying to kind of level the playing field a little bit for those guys because we have the ability to do that and they don't, which is kind of wild. So 1 second.
Somebody's calling to pick up some crowlers.
Yeah.
Go answer the phone. Jesus. Look at that banner in the background too, Sam. If we're going to keep this shit up, we're going to have to come up with something better than my basement ceiling.
Did you see you can do a virtual
background?
I
handed it off. It's getting handled.
Okay. No, but is that an order? Yeah, somebody ordered just now?
I did see the virtual background.
Not even asking if we are open.
I think I was wondering. We all got a bunch of push notifications. Kevin Durant has tested positive for COVID-19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No shit.
More importantly, the second death in Colorado just got reported.
Are you serious?
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Man.
This is nuts. So
Sam and I host a separate sports-related podcast, and this seems like a good opening.
It was that.
It does.
You already
Should we just go ahead and
mentioned-
roll into that one next?
Well, I mean, listen, we got to make it a crossover. We lost Jay.
Yeah.
No, you already mentioned sort of like your economy is tied to the. There you go, Jay. Nice.
Jay, people can't see Jay, but Jay's background.
I've been trying to figure out how to put Fenway in the background the entire time.
Oh my God!
It really just makes your feature stand out more. Whether that's good or bad, I'll leave.
Doesn't this seem appropriate since the city's on lockdown?
Yeah.
You're there.
But like you've mentioned it's occurred to me as you talked about this, like opening day is big for the Rockies, but it's also big for the restaurants and the bars that are downtown. In the back of my mind, I was like, well, listen, that opening day, hopefully, like fingers crossed, is going to happen at some point. So hopefully you get a rebound in whatever it is, May or June or whatever. Yeah. But it's interesting, right, to think about, in a broader way, the kind of sports beer kind of connection. That's a question I assume you weren't ready for, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's huge for us. I mean, if we didn't have the Rockies next door, we would have a drastically different outlook on our business right now. Thankfully, they've helped pad our bank account a little bit over the past handful of years. It's huge to have that, and I feel for anybody who is affected by it. The small businesses, the restaurants, anybody around the stadium here, that in 2 weeks is expecting their business to ramp up and kick off, and it's just not going to happen. And it will, and people love opening day. It's a holiday here in Colorado, so they'll be out and about when it happens. And I hope I hope we have opening day traffic for every single day for like a month.
Well, June usually
I hope we're running out of beer. Anyways. I hope it's like,
Okay.
I mean, there's too much COVID-19 talk already, but it is interesting if you think about the sports tie-in, which is a lot of people have speculated that if the guy from the Jazz, what was his name? Randy Gobert or whatever, Gobert, I don't know that dude's name.
Yep.
That if he had not tested positive, that we would still have March Madness and we might still have opening day, that it was sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back. So, I mean, it's not even just like a shameless plug. It really is like an interesting connection that sort of, tilted the trajectory of a big social issue that trickles down, right, to restaurants and bars and, everything.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, let's kind of get down into the nitty gritty, to maybe the uncomfortable conversations here. What were you doing with your staff? What kind of conversations were you having, like leading up to this? It's got to be just impossible conversations to have with people.
Yeah, it's really tough. There's no easy conversation you can have with staff about this, other than, in my opinion, it's just trying to be the most supportive people you can, because I know that a lot of craft breweries are this way, but we're definitely a family. We have people who live together. We have people who hang out together constantly. We have a pretty tight-knit crew here. So for them not to have this outlet every day to come to is pretty rough, and obviously financially as well. So what we're doing right now is our main focus. Obviously the brewery, keeping this thing going through all this is obviously main focus, and being very careful on spending and all that kind of stuff. But in all reality, our main focus is our staff, because without them, we'd be pretty screwed when this thing comes back online. We've worked very hard, and they've worked very hard for us, and we are not looking to change that. So effective pretty much today, 95% of our staff is laid off until May 11th. I wish it was April 11th, May 11th, or sooner. I hope something happens, but I'm not holding my breath. We know we're kind of looking at that May 11th timeline. We're trying to track down as many resources as we can for them, whether it's financial assistance, whether it's food assistance, really anything, emotional support, anything we can do to help them out, trying to relay as much information that we're getting in from the Brewers Association and the Colorado Brewers Guild, who have both been really, really on top of this all, because this is pretty much their main focus now is keeping all of us alive. So they have really set out some fabulous resources for us, and that's helping out a lot. So a lot of our employees are going on unemployment for the next couple of months to help out those kind of costs. We're working on some rent and mortgage deferral stuff too, so they can hopefully have a little bit of a breathing room and not be stressing out so much about everything. And then on top of that, we're we will be starting next week, hosting a weekly family dinner for everybody as well here at the brewery after hours, after we close. So awesome. It'll be put up the barbecue in the back parking lot and grill up a bunch of chicken or something. Like we'll figure out something, but it'll be, a good opportunity for everybody to come in, say hi, get a free meal on us, and just try to make the best of the situation. We're also trying to encourage them to get outside with us if they want to go for a hike, if anybody wants to go for a bike ride or go throw a Frisbee, like anything just to get outside and try to keep morale high through all this, and just try to make sure that we're there for them. Communicating as much as we can with them is huge.
Jay, do you have a question?
Hey, Chad, I did have a question. How do you guys back into, with this unplanned hiatus, how are you going to back into jump-starting production again ahead of that May 11th maybe reopen date? Or are you guys just going to go into it blind, sell what you have over the bar that's left from yesterday, today, and then restart production at that point? I feel like you might create a lull at that point if you guys don't back into production a couple of weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, and that's exactly the plan, is to ease back into production a little bit ahead of time, probably a couple of weeks, so that ideally when we open up, we can take a fresh beer out of the tank and release it that day. So ideally about 2 weeks is what we're looking at prior to when we're back online. So we do have a pretty good stock right now in our cooler, so we're doing okay. If we see the need that we have to come in and make a batch of beer or figure that out, we will. But as of right now, we're probably looking at like 1st of May to brew something and get that going. And we'll just swing. We'll go right back into our schedule for baseball season. We're brewing our Kolsch. We're doing jumping on the hard seltzer train with everybody else this year. That
was going to be my question, actually, Chad. I'm glad you said that. Jumping on the hard seltzer train.
That's right.
Woo!
That's right.
COVID-19. You might as well call it.
Might as well.
Seems like the right time and the right place.
Yeah.
Chad,
so you stole one of our questions.
Okay.
Hang on, Sam
okay.
J.
Go ahead.
He answered one of our questions ahead of time, which was hard seltzer. But literally, I was about to rattle off, are you doing hard seltzer? And because this fucking thing is way off track now, what was the craft beer that flipped you from PBR, as I sit here with my Coors Original today, what flipped you to the dark side here?
So yes, seltzer, absolutely. I think that the writing's on the wall. Everybody's doing it, and as much as people want to push back, it's like the hazy IPA thing. Like people wanted to push back on it, like, can't make a hazy beer. Like, sure you can. Watch me. And
well, you have to make a seltzer where you are too. I would think next to Coors Field, you have to make a seltzer.
The difference is that hazies are good, but I will admit a seltzer on July. Fine. Yeah. I'm in.
It's going to be good. And we have so many people who come in and ask, what do you have that's not beer? And as being just a manufacturing brewery with a tap room, we have beer that we make. That's pretty much it. So luckily we're allowed to make seltzer. We can't serve hard alcohol or really any other stuff or hard kombucha or anything like that. So luckily we're able to make hard seltzer and serve that, which is a really, really good outlet. I would say.
Sorry, that was our 2 questions.
That's great.
Oh, no, you haven't even answered the second one yet.
He was on to number 2.
Yeah.
Keep
I'm
going.
on the second one. So I would say I grew up in Washington State. When I was younger, I would drink a lot of Rainier, a lot of Olympia. I'm from Olympia, Washington, actually. So they made Olympia there and Hams there forever until they moved production elsewhere. So I have a bit of a soft spot for the dad beers in that sense. I love that stuff. But what really I think turned me on
is it Manny's that's out there? Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Manny's is actually. They're in Seattle.
That's the beer I get every time I'm in Seattle. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. They're in Seattle. Yep.
Sorry.
So when I moved out here to Colorado about 15 years ago for college, I moved to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and that was my first introduction to craft beer. Really, I had Pyramid and stuff like that before, and Pete's Wicked Ale, and the stuff that you could normally get up in the Northwest around that time. But I had never really had something that was straight from the brewery, like going in and seeing a tank and they're pouring it off the wall, and it's really cool. And so going there and drinking their Honey Brown was probably my first introduction to craft beer. I would just crush those. I mean, those college
14
days.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, 14?
Hey, don't be a dick, Brian. This is your first beer interview.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean like
we will cut you out of this thing really fast.
That's not what I. Good luck.
I'm 3 screens.
I'm in it. Yeah. No, I have a friend, Sam knows him. I don't know if Jay does or not. Who makes the joke that if you grew up in the right beer cities, if you're in Portland or San Diego, or you're in Seattle, you're in Denver, you're in, I guess, Grand Rapids, I don't know, that you actually don't have to learn how to drink good beer. Like if you're in a shitty place, you have to learn how to drink good beer in college. But the rest of us, if you're from a good beer place, learn how to drink bad beer in college. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have to figure out Keystone Light. I have to figure out credit Marcus Prosky. That's his joke, but it's true, right? Like my to be 14 again joke is that like in Denver we drank Fat Tire in high school, which just the truth.
Yeah,
Chad, out of respect for your time and whatever bandwidth we have here for this Zoom interview, aside from we put a post up on Colorado Craft Beer, the page on Facebook, and we've got a ton of responses. Thank God to everybody. I mean, we're up to I think 100 breweries now who have said, here's, give us the information. So we're going to list people kind of halfway through tomorrow's interview. Here's where we can go and pick up the beer. What else can we do for you? Is there anything we can do for you or the industry? I mean, tell us, because we will do it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you guys need to be doing, is just keep spreading the good word about it and let everybody know that we have beer to go, that we're still open. You can't come and sit down and have a pint with us, but you can get beer to go. Making sure that you're, I would say, visiting, much love to all of our retailers out there, but visiting the brewery, visiting the source, making sure every penny and every dollar goes to the craft breweries at this point, rather than to a retailer, then a distributor, then eventually the craft brewery. Let's send people right to the source and support this industry. I think that in the light of the next week or so, we're going to get a lot more information. I think there's going to be a lot of maybe some funds, some grants, some stuff out there where people can actually go and donate and support our craft brewers and our people, our industry people who are suffering right now. All my employees, for a good example. I think there's going to be some stuff out there. If there's somebody back there filling a crowler for you, make sure you tip them, because that's going to go a long ways during this time.
Yeah, for sure. Jay, let
me just throw it out there too. Anecdotally, I've spoken to a couple of industry insiders, and by that I mean bankers that like to drink beer and may or may not have clients that are breweries. For everybody that's listening or reacting to this, call ahead. Definitely be aware that you're not allowed to mingle or loiter outside the brewery with your freshly purchased beers. But check in with your local brewery, buy some beer, and keep drinking it. Hopefully, some of these people are continuing to keep production up to speed. And I think if you're a downtown Denver brewery and you haven't thought about the drive-through window, you guys need to definitely revisit that option.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. If you got more to say.
I was just going to say, to all the breweries out there, just keep thinking creatively through this, because there's a lot of ways we can make money if we get creative and support each other. So
buy that merchandise, people, too.
That's right.
We've got so many listeners on this thing. Like, buy merchandise. You can buy it off the website. You can go and you can have it picked up. I mean, get a shirt,
buy your gift cards, and come back in 3 months.
Exactly. Yes. My God, we got to help these people. Think about all of the stuff that these craft brewers have given us over the course of our lives, and I think it's time to give back. That's what's key.
Yes.
And nobody's fucking wearing business casual to work anymore.
Nope.
Time for a good beer
Boxers and t-shirts. You might as well just rock the trucker hat.
For sure. Well, Chad, buddy, thank you so much. Let us know what else you need. Okay, you got our email. You can contact us. Everybody else out there, stay safe. Support your local brewery. Do it all you can. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, Chad. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Download the Unfiltered podcast. Cheers, everybody.
When they come